Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty incredible, a masterclass in how to escape a seemingly perfect trap. This all comes from an ancient text, but honestly, it plays out like a top-tier legal thriller.
So, let's just jump right in. The scene doesn't kick off with some calm, friendly discussion. No, it starts with a public, life-or-death trap, one that's been so carefully designed that there's just no right answer. Okay, so picture this. The scene opens pretty peacefully in the temple courts. It's early, it's dawn, and Jesus is teaching a crowd. But that calm is about to be completely shattered.
Suddenly, a group of powerful religious leaders storms in, and they're dragging a terrified woman with them. This isn't a debate, it's a public spectacle. And get this, they're not just making an accusation, they are literally using this woman's life as a weapon.
And just look at how perfectly constructed this trap is. I mean, this was not a genuine question about the law. No way. It was a political and theological checkmate. Think about it. If he agrees with them, bam, he breaks Roman law, since only Rome could hand out a death sentence. But if he disagrees, well then, he's going against the sacred law of Moses. See? There is literally no good way out for him.
So they throw down the gauntlet right there in front of everybody. You can just imagine the tension, right? The crowd goes silent, this woman's life is on the line, and every single eye is on him.
But then, after this really tense silence where he just kind of bends down and writes on the ground, he does something absolutely brilliant. He doesn't even answer their question directly. Instead, he completely reframes the whole situation. He turns that lens of judgment away from the woman and points it right back at them.
And the effect, it is just astonishing. Total silence. And then, one by one, starting with the oldest guys there, the accusers just drop their stones and walk away, until nobody is left. The trap wasn't just dodged, it was completely taken apart.
Okay, so the immediate physical danger is gone, but this whole confrontation, it is far from over. It just shifts gears, it moves from a legal battle to a much deeper debate about authority, testimony, and ultimately identity.
So Jesus then makes this incredibly bold, sweeping claim about who he is. I mean, it's a massive declaration. And for the Pharisees who are still hanging around, well, this is a brand new opening for them, a new line of attack.
And they jump on it immediately. They counter his huge spiritual claim with this really dry procedural point from their own law. They basically say, hey, you can't be your own witness. Your testimony isn't valid. Under their rules, you needed at least 2 witnesses to make a claim stick.
And right here, this is where you really see the core of the conflict. I mean, they're arguing on 2 completely different levels, right? The Pharisees are stuck on human law, on courtroom rules. But Jesus, he's coming from a place of divine authority, and he claims his second witness is God himself.
So this whole argument over witnesses, it spirals really fast into a much more fundamental question. Where are you actually from? What's your real origin?
And this is where Jesus draws this stark, absolute line in the sand. He's not just saying he sees things differently. He is claiming to be from another reality altogether. I mean, can you imagine hearing someone say that? You are from this world, but I am not.
And then, wow, he raises the stakes to the absolute maximum. This isn't just some philosophical debate anymore. He's basically saying that believing in his identity is a matter of eternal life and death.
Okay, so as some of the people in the crowd start to believe him, he offers them a promise. And it's a promise that has become one of the most famous lines ever spoken.
He says this profound thing about liberation through truth, but what kind of truth are we talking about here? And what kind of freedom? Well, that becomes the next big point of conflict.
But his listeners, they completely misunderstand him. They hear this promise not as a spiritual thing, but as a political insult. Free? We're descendants of Abraham. We've never been slaves to anyone. You can just hear the indignation, right? They're offended and they push back hard.
So you see, they're just talking past each other. They're arguing about 2 totally different kinds of freedom. And Jesus has to spell it out. He's not talking about political slavery. He's talking about being a slave to sin.
And this is where the conversation gets incredibly sharp, I mean, really personal. He challenges their core identity. He basically tells them that their actions, their murderous intent, reveals who their real spiritual father is, and it isn't Abraham or God like they claim.
All right, the tension has just been building and building this whole time, right? From that first legal trap to the debates over witnesses and freedom, and it all comes to a head. It all explodes with one final, almost exasperated question from his opponents.
They are demanding he put all his cards on the table.
After all the back and forth, they ask him the ultimate question directly. Basically, who do you think you are? And his answer is probably the most shocking and direct claim of the entire confrontation. He says, "Before Abraham was born, I am." Now, he's not just saying he's really old. That phrase, "I am," is the divine name. It's what God called himself to Moses at the burning bush. This is a direct, you can't misunderstand it claim to be God.
And for his audience, this wasn't just a bold claim, it was the ultimate crime, blasphemy. So their reaction is immediate, and it is violent. And here's the crazy irony. They pick up the very same stones they were going to use on the woman at the beginning, and they turn to use them on him.
So the whole conversation ends, not with an agreement, but with an attempt on his life. He slips away, but we're left with this really powerful question. What happens when a claim of truth is so absolute that it demands a verdict? You can't just ignore it. There's no neutral ground left. It forces you to make a choice.